Royal Baptist Church, whether you're here in person or you're online. Thank you for being with us this day. Today is technically Reformation Sunday, and a lot of our sibling Protestant churches celebrate this day. You know, they have, if you drove by some churches, you may see some red flags. And technically, the liturgical color today is red, but however, Baptists were always viewed as stepchildren of the Reformation. And not really part of the Protestant Reformation, kind of like off to the side, kind of on the periphery, part of it, but not really. So we don't have to abide by those liturgical restrictions. So this is what I call the Judson stole that I wear. You know, if you think of the little, the three wavy lines that are on our symbol, if you flip them vertically, that's what's on this stole. Lori made it for me years ago. She doesn't like it, but I really like it. But it's still here we are. It's a wonderful night last night. For the Doug Weatherhead retrospective. We had a great crowd, great music. Doug, just thanks for sharing who you are and being in the place. And I'm thankful that there's a place like this that nurtures and wants that kind of creativity to be a part of this community. So thank you for that so much. Just many good things I'm going to share about today. Also, today we're going to celebrate Rich Olson. He's going to give a personal reflection, and we're proud of Rich's work, and thankful for him, and look forward to a celebration of that, and many other things that are going on around here. Again, like last week I talked about, if you were here, we talked about the opening parts of, a lot of us, this is a safe place to be, but we know for a lot of our siblings, it's not a safe place to be at church. And one of those is Riverside Church at Park and King in Jacksonville, Florida. A wonderful, beautiful church. Another AWAB church there in Florida was vandalized this week. And we have a letter of support that I'm going to ask you to sign in the back. There's other letters back there. We have 3 new AWAB churches that we're welcoming to the fold. We want to make sure that we have signed. You only get to sign one. Sign the one from Riverside Church in Jacksonville to make them know that we are supporting them, we're holding them in prayer. And also, this church has been vandalized. This church has been targeted. We know that kind of takes a toll on you, mentally and physically and spiritually. And so we want to make sure that we are being with them as much as we can. All right, that's what we got today. I want you to just kind of have in the back of your mind the meaning of life. And we'll try to ask that of each other and as we sit here together. We're at church we might as well ask that question, right? So here we go. And with that, may we continue to welcome you, and may we ask Polly to lead us in the call of worship.
Please join me in the call to worship. I will 1, and you won't be forgetting. It's a good day to be here.
It is a good day to tell stories.
It's a good day to give thanks.
It is a good day to ask for help.
It's a good day to be in community.
It's a good day to worship God.
Please stand for the opening hymn. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrow who violently sweeps your house, emptying it of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out, some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Can I invite the children to join me up front, please, this time? Okay, well, hey, this is the first time back since NBA break, huh? Everybody have a good time? Feeling good? Yeah? You're feeling good? You're good too, right? You're good too. Yeah. Let's ask a question about zoos. Have any of you been to a zoo? Okay, good. So, I'm going to talk about, real quick, give you like 30 seconds about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a theologian, World War II. He was killed by the Nazis. But when he was 14, he was already reading deep theology. Right? So how many of you are over 14 or over? How much deep theology have you been reading? All right, so that's you don't want to, it's okay. But one of his great questions was about they've got, what's that? Oh, you're just telling me, what is theology? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, theology, deep reflection on the meaning of faith. Yeah. Theology really means God talk. Really, that's what it means. Yeah. Theo means God, logic. Yeah. But logos mean words, God words. Words about God. So you've done theology, all of you have. You all done theology. But have you done, like, you devoted hours and hours to it? Not yet. Not yet. Let's just leave it as not yet. All right? Let's just leave it there. But Bob asked this question about zoos and about God at the zoo. And I got a question for you. Everybody else is going to answer too later on, so it's a little prep for you to answer it. Think about it. If God was an animal at the zoo, what animal do you think God will be? Yeah, go ahead. Exactly. What do you think? A monkey. Why? They're so free and fun. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Anybody else got one? You know the answer? What's your answer? Where's my sister? She's at home. She's at home. My sister's at home. She likes to sleep. Because she's a grandma now, and she needs lots of sleep. She says. Yeah, sleep. Yeah. But what about animal? What animal do you think? That's okay. That's all right. He has a home. It's okay. He's not here. But animals though? A keystone animal, like. Do you have an example of a keystone animal that keeps the ecosystem together? No? That's okay, yeah. But you like those. But they're important. You think God, yeah. Alright. Well, how about this? Later on today, keep asking everybody at the end of church, when you're back there getting a treat, when you're sitting in line, ask somebody else, what animal did you say? At the zoo, right? See what you did. That's all we're going to do today. That's all we're asking. Making the same comments? Working on that. Rose and Finn, how is it going with the online streaming? How's it coming? You feeling it? You look like pros right there. gives that disinterested look of like, and you have it down pat. So I think that and then I got smiles, it's even better. Yeah, love it. Thank you. And lots of other people thank you for that too. All right, guys, see you a blessing from the faith community worship. God be with you. Also with you. You're not doing that. take this time now to introduce Reverend Rich Olson as he will be giving our personal reflection. Do you remember that a few years ago, the UCC had this wonderful ad that was called "Never Put a Period Where God Puts a Comma"? Does anybody remember that by chance? Or was it only in church nerd circles that remember those things? That's fine. That was it. So, Rich has been our welcoming and affirming outreach minister, but he's not putting a period on that word. He's just putting a comma. And we're here to celebrate that work up until that comma that has been here at Judson Memorial Baptist Church. So Rich, man, much forward, and may we accept your words of
Good morning.
Good morning.
First off, I want to say it's been a pleasure and honor to serve the church in that position. And thank you, Travis, for your kind words. I have been an out gay person for 72 years almost. 26,233 days. I had to throw a number in here being an ex-banker. But the path has not been, the road has been hard sometimes, ups and downs, sadness, happiness. It's like our construction zones we have right now. Every time I see that orange colored barrel, I panic. Where am I and where am I going? But, you know, a lot of detours, a lot of changes in the time and whatever, but I've never looked backwards, and I've never walked backwards. Have you ever tried to walk backwards? It's cumbersome. I like to walk forward and see what's happening and what's going to happen and what I'm going to have a part in making happen. So, through these years, I'm going to honestly tell you something that happened. I think many of you remember Kathleen Tice. Well, one time when she went to University Baptist Church, I said, I'm going to come and listen to one of your sermons. She said, I'll call you. Well, she had an accident, and her daughter was helping her put her sermon together, and she came across a message that said, call Rich Olson. And her daughter said, what's that got to do with your sermon? She said, well, I'm going to have to call him to tell him I'm preaching today. But I didn't throw my notes away, but I threw my script away. Oh. But we'll make it. But through the years and working with the church here and other churches, making them to be a welcoming and affirming church, many times I know that there's many people that, there's still people that are looking and wondering, who is he, what is he, they're on the fence, but it took me a long time to determine and understand why people didn't really accept me, one of God's children, as I was. So I know and understand it takes a while to really understand what's happening. But I'm so proud of what's happened through these years. When I was a 10-year-old child, sitting at the steps of a church, wondering, why won't they let me in and be myself, accept me for who I am? And now, here I am standing here. And I've been the welcoming and affirming minister here at the church, and I've been fighting for justice and the rights for my entire life. And I'm standing here, and I'm a pastor, was a minister at a Baptist church of all things. But the road has not been easy, like I said, but we have a church member here in 1974 before was a hero in the Minneapolis City Council. And it's Mr. Ford sitting right over there. Thank you. He paved the road and helped me through the bumps that I could do what I wanted to do. And I'm proud that I've never been in the closet. I've had the right, and I've really been fortunate to be able to get out of the closet. You ever gone into a closet and shut the door? It's not fun. No, it's not fun. But some people have never had children and young people and have never had the chance to fear getting out of the closet. I've been lucky. Many times I've been told, you know, you lived a dangerous life. You could have been on Matthew Shepard. You know, and one of my honors through the times of my being involved in fighting for the rights is I had the opportunity to work on Harvey Milk's last campaign. He taught me a lot of things. And I remember one thing that we were in a meeting to go out campaigning, and a young man stood up and he said, you know, Harvey, I thought we were for gay rights. And Harvey, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but he walked like this. He always listened, and he said, young man, if you're going to work on my campaign, you've got to know that I'm for everyone's rights. And through the years, I've had one relationship, the little things that really meant a lot to me, that I know that I really did a good job, a job that I was asked to do. I'm getting back to tell you that I have a personal trainer. Can't you tell? Okay, be nice. Church. But, you know, through all these years, I've had the best damn personal trainer in the world, and that's God. He's always been there with me, walking with me, holding my hand, telling me, keep going, keep going. You're doing the right thing. Every time I look and every time I'm up here, and I remember getting married here, I think the first same-sex couple to get married here, I look up here and I see God looking down at me and saying, keep going, keep doing it, you're doing the right job. But some little stories, and I have so many to tell how fortunate I have and what I've done, how I feel so great about what I did. I was working with a church, like you know, I worked with many, many churches. And there was this guy, and he was the biggest redneck I've ever seen. And I actually overheard him talking to another member of the church and using words that I'm not going to use here because I hate them. But, so a year later, I was at a Cub parking lot, and the couple came up, and I said, well, have a nice holiday, and I hugged her, and I put my hand out to shake because I didn't want to offend him. And he said, Rich, you can hug me too. I got through to him, yeah. He knew, you know, that it was great. Another thing I had just recently, you know, I'm not afraid to tell people who I am, what I am, and I'm proud of being gay. A young man was walking with his company uniform, and he had a ribbon and a badge on his sleeve, and I said, you know, thanks for wearing that. And I got into conversation, and I said, you know, I think I mentioned that I've been fighting for justice and equal rights forever. And I said, I think I might even mention I'm so proud to have worked with Harvey Milk. And he said to me, "Sir, can I hug you? You made it possible for me to wear this ribbon at work, and I'm proud of you. And also, with my first partner, we wanted to have children. And this goes way back a few years because I'm so young, but anyway, and I had a lot of allies. I worked at the bank, and the president of the bank at the time was on Lutheran Services Board. And we'd been invited to the home many, many times for dinner and stuff. And he worked and he loved to try to get us to have a child. But we chose not to because during those times, and it's still a little bit touchy, but we felt we didn't want the child to go through things that we had gone through with being accepted. So we chose, we're going to fight. And I was telling people, and I looked at a young same-sex couple. In fact, it was here at church. I said, you know, I see the love of your children looking at you and everything. People should see this and know that, yes, we would be great parents. And there's a little hesitation, and I was told, thank you. Your work made it possible for us to have these children. You know, what can I say? But, and I was talking about and another person that I'm so proud of, I've never met, was your past minister, Dale Edmondson, who I believe walked down this aisle and had you sign a petition many years ago. And he was also helped me and others to be able to do what we've done through these years. I've never met him, I've talked to him on the phone, but he's a hero. I told him how proud I was of him, and he said, I'm just an amateur, you're a pro. But he's just the greatest. And I have had, ever since I heard about that, I have thought of what a wonderful thing it would be, and I just might today walk down that aisle and have you make a commitment. I would feel so good, and I know he watches some of the services, and if I could only be half the person he was and is, he helped us, and he made this church the way it is right now, so open and affirming. I remember the first time walking in here to the church, I could feel love, and I still feel love. And many of the people who were here at the time are no longer with us. They're up in heaven. But when I walk in here, I feel their presence. I feel them being here because they were so. It's just the love, you know. We have to put more love in and get rid of the hate. And talking about walking backwards, the times that we're going through right now, it's rough. But we have to keep walking forward. We have to keep fighting. We're doing it right, and we're going to make things happen. We're going to get back to where we were. We can't have what's going on. But working and walking and having our personal trainer, I want each and every one of you to have my personal trainer, God. We'll get through it. And like I said, in the area, in Minneapolis, we're fortunate to have some great groups. The Aliveness Project, Claire Housing, out front, the Twin City Men's Chorus, which I'm involved in all the agencies. In fact, we're moving back to Orchestra Hall for the season and buy some tickets, get the support. And I have a little announcement. I don't know, some of you might have been able to go or have gone to a gala with the Twin City Gay Men's Chorus. I have been to many, many of them. I've been involved in 42 of their upcoming 45 years of making community through music. And, and we have community here at Judson, and they're sitting right there. We have one of the best band courses in the town. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And I hear that when people talk to me about home and they refer to Judson Rich's church. I'd love to have them all say it's my church too, but it's just wonderful to have that. But we're going to have some fun. And if you've been at one of the galas, I love to have fun and get people just, we're going to do that here at Judson. Starting in January, we're going to have a little fun. And we'll have some hints and tips of what it's going to be during the next 2 months, little things. And I'm going to give you a little hint today. I'm going to give you some letters. MG dash ACGO. Now, doesn't that give you a lot of hint? What it's really all about? I don't want you to know right now. But, and if someone can figure out what that is before we start the campaign, and we're going to have fun, I'm going to offer you a $50 gift certificate to Fletcher's Ice Cream in Northeast Minneapolis. I think you've heard the story where they were bombed a couple of times. We got to support them, right? There are neighbors, there are friends. So, Travis said I had an hour, but I'm going to yeah, but anyway, I want to end with thank you again for accepting me when I walked in the doors here, accepting me for who I am, what I stand for, and a gay person. You know, I can't do it from my heart, but I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. I'm going to walk down that road. And I'm going to ask you to, if you haven't made God your trainer, personal trainer, He's waiting for you to be one of His people to help. What a trainer. And also I want a commitment that Judson doors will never be closed to anyone that's welcome. We welcome everyone in the sanctuary. God bless you.
We got a blessing that we're going to do with Rich. If you can find this in your bulletin and read along with it. Rich, this is where your life has arrived. After the years of effort and toil, look back with graciousness and thanks on all of your great, quiet achievements.
We stand on the shore of the invitation to over your life was left undone. Let your heart enjoy a
John 14. I just want to say a couple of things about the online service, though. One is a friend of mine, talking to him this week, and he said, how many people are at Judson? It looks like every single pew is packed. And the reason is, because the angle of the camera that they use, it gets all of the choir. And so they assume that the entire rest of the church looks just like the first two rows of the choir. So that's a wonderful thing to happen. So I'm great for that visual manipulation that happens. So there's that. The other part is, you remember last week when Karen and Jim did that wonderful postlude, that autumn reflection piece that you all did? Remember how beautiful that was? We had a comment, did they see it today, this week? We had a comment on our YouTube page about the service from the composer in the Netherlands, thanking them for a beautiful piece. That's a wonderful thing to happen. You sent it to me? I don't care. No, tell us. He found it somehow, right? But he was so happy to see that they took that organ piece and made it into a piano and violin piece. So thank you. Thank you. And now for this lesson from John, verses 1 to 14. This is going to be, and when you're hearing it, Jesus has been talking to one person in the text, and then all of a sudden Jesus turns and he talks to the crowd. And this is what's called the farewell discourse. You may know, in John it takes forever. So think of it, this is a Minnesota goodbye, Jesus. So, and it's going to be you plural. So this is, if we could translate it, would be, it says, do not let your hearts be troubled. It's really, do not let y'all's hearts be troubled. Is what it should be. So do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, but you believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may be also. And you know the place where I am going. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way? And Jesus said to Thomas, I am the way, and the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. Philip said to Jesus, Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied. And Jesus said to Philip, have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am the Father, and the Father is also in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak of my own. But the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me, that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. And if you do not, then believe me because of the works themselves. Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do. In fact, will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If in my name you ask me for anything, I will do it. Thus ends the reading. Now, let's break this up just for a second with the question of the day. So this is where I really want you to spend a minute. I'm just thinking about, if God were an animal at the zoo, so you're at the Minnesota Zoo, you're walking around here, Tacoma Park Zoo, pick whatever zoo you want. And there you come upon a new exhibit and it says God. What animal do you think God would be? All right, you got 1 minute. Go. You have to switch, you have to switch partners. You have to let the other person speak. All right, good job, everybody. Way to go. Way to go. Can we get somebody from this side to say just one animal? Elephant. Great, great elephant over here. Moose. What about in the back? Way back. Owl. An owl. All right, see, we've got all kinds of inspiration. Perfect. All right, so let us pray. Lord God, be with us in this moment, and may your grace continue to be with us. A few weeks ago, I was having dinner with what I would consider, it could have been a carbon copy of Judson people. It's probably some of the most liberal people I've ever been around in my life. We were having dinner, having a great conversation, when the subject came up of somebody's conservative family. And the conversation got a little dicey, a little iffy. You could tell nobody was sure where to go with this. And they started talking about faith. And then somebody said, I wish I had their faith. And when I think of my own personal faith as a liberal Christian, I find it lacking. I wish I had what they had. It's an interesting way to kind of think about things. Some people have looked at this passage in John and used it as a one-way street. This is the only way that's going to work. Believe in Jesus, your Lord and Savior. Don't ask questions. Hook up Jesus, fold him up, put him in your back pocket, and never let anything question. I think for some guys, it's easy for us to kind of, I packaged it that way. But it's easy for us to kind of want to put people down who kind of think like that. To put ourselves as like, we have graduated past that kind of thinking. And that we are, our ways, so much better. Oh, it's so much better. But that kind of hubris doesn't really get us anywhere. And I don't think God is like patting us on the back for thinking like that. But there's a time and place when we need faith to be simple, to be accessible, to be something that you do have in your back pocket. And you pull it out, and it helps you get through a time. I don't want to deride people for thinking like that, because you know what? I was that exact person at one time in life. And I bet many of you were also. It's almost like we don't want to think about that because we're embarrassed of our former selves. But that was a true expression of who we were at one point in life. And rather than be embarrassed, in some way, how do you invite that person? Your former self will still be present. Not to be ashamed of it. Part of who we were at one time in life. Things happen in life. You gotta have a starting point sometime. Things happen in life, and all of a sudden, this one-way street that looks so clear, all of a sudden becomes this messy roundabout. And you're not sure what exit to get off. Things happen in life. The person that you love so much is no longer with you. Maybe it was a death. Maybe it was a divorce. The job that you had that gave you so much meaning in life, all of a sudden, you're fighting from it. Or you're let go. Or the best friend that was there for you through thick and thin kind of looks at you and says one time, I don't want to be friends with you. Things happen in life that make us think, oh, what was so simple and clear is all of a sudden messy. And you're not sure where to go. Many times, we look at God. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, this is where it comes from. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, like I said, was 14 years old, started reading theology in a serious way. You could be a precocious 14-year-old theologian in Berlin, I guess. And when he came to America and studied at Union Seminary, he just found it boring. He said all the students don't know how to think. They hadn't been reading theology since they were 14, for one reason. But when he looked at the church, He said, it seems to me that everybody in the liberal church is kind of thinks of God as an animal at the zoo, comfortable and separated from. Let's keep God in this nice caged container. And for many of us, that's the symbol of our faith. A God who's behind glass, who's removed from our daily lives. But what happens when you're on that roundabout? When all the things of life that you thought were going to happen and be present just aren't present anymore. In each of the Gospels, you have certain sections that are central to what that Gospel writer is trying to get to us. Think of in Mark, it's the parables. In Matthew, it's the Sermon on the Mount. In Luke, it's this teaching between when Jesus cleanses the temple and when he's sentenced to death. There's about 2 chapters, which is amazing. There are ways where the writer kind of takes a magnifying glass, and just kind of turns it to where you're crystal clear about this is what, for them, Jesus was all about. And for the gospel writer of John, it's the farewell discourse, where Jesus says goodbye to the disciples. This is not a, it's my way or the highway kind of passage. This is somebody saying goodbye in the most tender way they possibly can. And it's also the most expansive. Sometimes you wonder, how do people take Jesus' message of such love and grace and turn it into such vitriol? It's really quite an act when you figure people do this. And right there in the passage of John, in my house are many dwelling places. People sometimes ask me about this church. Well, actually, I should say this. A lot of times people ask me about this church. And he asked me to explain what it's like here. And I try to think of metaphors, like the old ones, herding cats, milking mice, all those things, right? They all come out. And sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. But when I talk about how the congregations, we think of ourselves as like a third progressive Christian, a third former somethings, and a third kind of atheist agnostics. And people just like, it's like the juice in their head just drops. And they look at me kind of ashen, like, how do you pastor a church like that? From a distance, I tell them, right? There's not one way to do this. There's not one way to believe. There's not one way to think of Jesus. In the Gospels, we have at least 4 different versions. And Jesus himself in the 4th Gospel says, in my house are many dwelling rooms. There's a room for people. I find this so comforting. I think of the people that I really don't want to be around. I'll be around in my life. I'm like, I can put you in that dwelling place. And the people I really want, I can have around in this dwelling place. In my house are many mansions. In my house are many dwelling places. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. If we were to look at not necessarily the original Greek that John, the writer of John used, but how the early church used this in the Greek way, it would be the way, which would be diakonos, which as maybe the word deacon means, which technically means the word serve. My way is the way of service. The truth, the charisma. I know it's charisma, but I had this professor who always added an extra syllable to every word, and he would always say, now it's time to talk about the charisma. And so I can't help but think of it that way, right? Even though I know it's charisma, I still like the extra vowel. The charisma. That if you could consolidate the message of Jesus, this way of nonviolent love. And then the way, koinonia. The way is fled. He also wrote this wonderful essays for the New Yorker. You ought to go back and read them if you haven't. I've got books of his E.B. White essays. They're wonderful to read. And they're sickening when you read about how he wrote them. It was basically the day of, he would type them out and send them to the editor. These 5,000, 6,000 word essays. One time he said, to talk about the day, he talked about how difficult it is to be a human being. He said that when he wakes up, he doesn't know if he should savor the day or save it. That's the question he asked every day. I think for liberals, we kind of think of it as we're here to save the day. And we feel guilty if we save the day. I know people right now where there is so much tragedy and death and hurt going on in the world that if you even smile when they're present, they will stare you down. And they will say things like, we haven't got time to laugh right now. We haven't got time to smile and enjoy life. Save the day or savor it. But maybe there's a way of doing both at the same time. Do you remember that book, Everything I Learned in Kindergarten? Everything I Need to Learn, I Learned in Kindergarten, something like that, right? Robert Fulghum. It's a wonderful book, full of great tales. And you're reading the book and you're thinking, why is this book full of sermon illustrations? And then you get to when you read his Wikipedia biography, and you realize, what was he? One time in life. He was a pastor. He was a Unitarian pastor in the West Coast. And you think, oh, that's why he has great stories. He wrote a follow-up to that book. It's called It Was on Fire When I Lay Down on It. Another book of little essays like that, little stories. And you read them and you're kind of like, yeah, that's okay. Well, that's kind of funny. That's kind of got some tenderness to it. And then there's this essay at the end. And you're like, holy smokes. It's a story about Alexander Papaderos. A name I never heard of. Maybe you have either. Alexander Papaderos lived on the island of Crete. And he started a kind of truth and reconciliation foundation. He started it, and before he died in 2008, almost 2,000 conferences of people had come through his Institute of Peace and Learning. He said he put it on the island of Crete. He grew up in Athens. He had family members that grew up on that island. And what happened there in World War II? German paratroopers invaded the island. And the residents of this one village met the paratroopers because they were peasants. Met them with kitchen utensils and mowing scythes, trying to defend themselves. And the Germans, because they were not accepted as liberators, slaughtered them. Papaderos, after the war, thought, if we can go to one place and try to find a place of meaning and purpose, I'm going to devote my life to that village. So he went to that village, started this Institute of Peace, and tried to get the Germans who were still there, the native residents, to talk about it. Now, Robert Fulghum, back to him. He asked a question. He was on one of these, we have people here who do Rhodes Scholarships, right? Rhodes Scholars. He was thinking of it as a Rhodes Scholar in the 1970s. A 2-week trip to Greece to learn about history and culture. At the end of the 2 weeks, they're there with Alexander Papaderos. And they're talking with him. And he said, every chance I get to be in a situation where there are people of wisdom and learning, I ask one question. What is the meaning of life? So he said, Alexander Papaderos finished his lecture and said, are there any questions? Everyone just sat there. Robert Fulghum raised his hand and said, what is the meaning of life? And he said he stood there for a long time staring at me, making sure I wasn't just a smart ass, but I was asking an honest question. And he said, I will tell you. after the war, he said, during the war, I was walking around in my village outside of Athens, and I found a wrecked German motorcycle. And the only thing that I could pick up that was shiny was a piece of the mirror from the motorcycle. I tried to find it all. He said, I tried to find all the pieces to put it back together. But I could only find this one piece. So I took that one piece and I got a stone and I made it round. It was about the size of a quarter. And he said, I found that if I took that mirror and if I turned it the right way, I could get the sun to reflect it back in dark places. He said, as a kid, that was what I would do all the time. But I found that as an adult, that was my calling, was to take that mirror and realize I'm not the light, but I reflect light. And you would take that mirror into dark places and put it into the darkest recesses of humanity, trying to bring light. And hopefully by reflecting that light, it may just change a heart or two in their life of human. And he said, that is the meaning of my life. He said, with that, he reached into his billfold, pulled out that little round mirror, and got the sun to shine right into Robert Fulgrim's eyes. And then shine it down his hands. As a liberal church, we often think, what in the world are we doing? Are we really saving the day, or are we savoring it? Our job is to do both. To shine some light in some dark places. But also to show some light that maybe someone is moved in such a way that I should live my life differently. I hope that what we're up to here, when we look at this message of Jesus in the 14th chapter of John, is that we are trying to create an extremely expansive faith where there is many rooms for lots of different people. I hope we have a joyous faith that shines light in places where there is none. But I also hope that we have a simple faith. Back to where we all started, because we're all going to go back there again, sometime in life. You know, Carl Jung said that he wished that there was a college for all of humanity when we reached 40 years of age. Not that you go away for 4 years in a residential school, but at 40 you kind of think about maybe life's different now, and it needs a different kind of education. Or maybe when you're 60, or maybe when you're 80, there should be these different colleges. A different way to think about how life was at the beginning. During COVID, or after COVID, I saw a friend of ours, and she's this wonderful person that always brings books. Do you have a friend like that? Always gives you great books. This friend dug into her purse. It's this giant purse. She just started digging through it and found this purse and found all these books that she wanted to give us. I said, Elizabeth, we're all going on a plane. We can only take 2 books back with us. She said, I want you to take these 2. One was a book by the writer Anne Patchett. The book was called These Precious Days. And she said there's this wonderful essay about her friendship with this one particular children's writer. I kind of giggled and I said, you know, she usually has about the 8th pew back in Joseph. And it felt kind of weird to read this kind of over her shoulder, thinking of it the whole time. But Anne Patch has this wonderful story about her best friend who's a priest. When he got about midlife, he got to thinking about what was his purpose, the meaning of life, and he came to this question. He finally realized, my job is not to fix you. My job is to simply love you. A simple faith that looks at other people and says, my job is not to fix you. My job is just to love you. If people ask you, what's the meaning of your life? You can say for sure, I'm not here to fix you. You can say, I'm here to love you. But you can also say, I'm also here to put you in this other room. Maybe that's the only way I can love you. Brothers and sisters, siblings of God, as we walk through this life, I hope that we have an expansive faith with many rooms. I hope a joyous faith and a simple faith. May it be so. Amen.
For those of us that have been able to get outside this week, we see that we have an explosion of beauty to savor here in Minneapolis, here in the Twin Cities, the trees at their peak and their beauty. Let's take a moment now to savor that. I invite you all to close your eyes if you feel comfortable and allow an image of the beautiful autumn colors to rise in your awareness. Maybe allow one image in particular, a moment of you and a tree or trees, and really take in all of your senses that you are experiencing in that moment. What did it feel like inside your body, or even inside your body just now, imagining the beautiful reds and golds and oranges and yellows and pinks? Breathe into that beauty for several deep breaths. And now try and bypass your thinking mind and just put out a question and see what rises up in response. What does this natural beauty reveal to you about the source of the universe? Judson for all of the ways it reflects via tiny mirrors.
Relative Leona is in great pain. Please send prayers of love and healing for her.
May our smiles brighten our lives and the lives of others.
Prayers for the Bystead family on the passing of Ralph, and prayers to Doug Weatherhead for a fabulous concert last night.
The opposite of death is not life, but all those activities that support life.
Thank you, Rich, for your lifetime of work. Our God is an awesome artist. Thanks for the traffic circle analogy, Travis. Love it.
Prayers, please, for Vince as he tackles health issues.
I'd like to thank Doug Weatherhead for sharing his life experiences last night with his beautiful music.
Love for those being terrorized by masked men in immigration raids in Chicago and elsewhere.
Prayers for the families of the teenagers involved in a car accident down our street. Connor, David, Jax, Jonathan, and the 14-year-old whose name we don't know yet. We are a small community. Everyone knows someone connected to these families. They are hurting and processing this.
Celebrate the season.
I'm so grateful to see Kristen and Jean and Davis here with us this morning.
And another one, I'm grateful Kristen, Jean, and Davis chose to visit this Sunday.
Please sing Jingle Bells for Christmas from Joel. Should request them early.
Prayers for my brother and sister-in-law on sudden death of their oldest son.
For the prayer this morning, Ralph died on, Monday, early Tuesday morning. The service will be November 22nd at 1 p.m. I didn't know that until the service closed. So I'll just have that prayer to celebrate Ralph's life. And if you saw the email that Ralph, I've been a member here he and Margaret just celebrated their 70th wedding anniversary. He joined 66 years ago. Been a member. So some people call people that have been around that long at one church dinosaurs, and that's true. That's true. That's good stuff. That's amazing. So please pray for the Bystead family. Many others that we have in the community that we're praying for, and just let's lift them all up. I'm going to lift up the prayers in a bowl, but I'm going to ask for our community prayer, if we could just pray that the Thomas Merton prayer that you found printed in your bulletin, which you'll find on page 7. Let's pray. My Lord God, for the call to offering, I wanted to do two things. One is just remind you that we are going to do a Thanksgiving offering that'll happen for $2,500. We'll go over asking if there is anybody that'd like to try to match either a portion of that or all of it. Please see me if you'd like to. And I just want to say a little bit about what happened in this building on Thursday. It was complete chaos, a beautiful chaos. I counted at least over 750 people in the building on that day alone. In the morning, we had the usual office stuff, Meals on Wheels, Judson Preschool, and the counselors. In the afternoon, usual office stuff, the preschool counselors, the preschool teachers were doing a continuing ed event in the fellowship hall. The eco-justice team was meeting in the library. Doug was in here practicing, rehearsing, and there was cribbage going on in Angelson. That evening, there was mahjong, there was a dinner, because the folks that do the protest on I-35W, they usually have dinner at the King Park, at the park building, but they couldn't that night, so they said, can we have the dinner here? So they had the dinner here. And there was also the Minnesotans Against Christian Nationalism book club going on. Yeah. So if you think, am I just throwing money away by donating to Judson Church? No, you're not. So thank you for that. next Sunday is All Saints Day, where we'll have some, the service will say the names of the departed, both Judson members and Free Community. Will have microphones, one in the front and one in the back, where for you to come forward and say the name of the departed that you would like to remember. That doesn't mean it have to be just that year. No, it can be any time in your life. Someone you'd like to remember. That will happen next Sunday. Also, that will be the last time that Dr. Corey will be here as our adult education. Many things going on. You'll see the more Monday protests are going on tomorrow. Things that are coming up. And on November 9th, Austin and I are going to give just a quick kind of preview of what's been happening with the grant and how we'll be using those funds. Carolyn's online prayer series. Please check out those things that are coming up. Now, if you look on the front of the bulletin, you'll see why did I put the pictures on them on the stained glass? If you notice, there's only one cross that we have in the sanctuary, and it's the wood up here behind me. And that was actually put in later, was the original. But what was original? Right, this stained glass of the lilies of the valley. Now, I am totally allergic to them, so we don't have them in Easter. But I found out this week. Do you know that they not only are they symbolic, which is beauty, but the lilies of the valley are symbolic for regeneration. That the early church used them to talk about regeneration. And when I think about what we're doing here, regeneration. They're in the back if you're looking for it. Yeah, they're in the very back. So you see it as you leave, regeneration. That's what we're doing. All right, with that, there's a busy day. I know there's a lot, right? And I know that Joel Frederickson is going to tell me, whenever I'm a worship leader, we always end at 10:30. Every time he does it, he rubs it in my face every time. Remember, as you're walking out of the church, to please go back and sign those letters. We have 3 new churches that joined the Association of Welcome Reformed Baptists, and we have a letter to the church in Jacksonville, a letter of support for them, to make sure that they know I love you and grace. Now, as you leave it, also remember that we're going to have, make sure that Rich gets a piece of the apple. A deep dish apple pie. Rich, make sure you get a piece first, okay? For that. Okay, here we go. You're going to walk out these doors, and there's going to be a sign, but it's not going to be literal. It's going to be metaphorical. But if we were in West Virginia, in Lori's hometown, there would be literal signs like this everywhere in that little hometown. You remember what they were, Lori? Just say no to the roundabouts. They were thinking about roundabouts, and there are people in there that just do not want them. I cannot promise you, nor can anyone, that when you walk out these doors, that life's going to be easy. There's going to be pain and suffering and real things that happen to you. It's not going to be a one-way street. So, but when you go in this life, know that the people around you have your back. And know that in this community, there are people that are praying for you, that there are people that love you, and there are people that care immensely about you. And know that the God that we serve, whether or not you are in God's front seat, or you're in a third wheel passenger somewhere way back, that this God is not against you, but is for you. And that this God promises to always be with you. Doesn't promise protection, but promises presence. And this God's Spirit animates life in such a way that God is not your adversary. But think of God as your advocate. For you are charged to take these little mirrors, to take these words of love, to take these words of courage, and go into the world